Okay, the tools required for today's project are clamps with the plastic soft inserts, a piece of wood. You can tell that I've rounded off the edges here so there's no sharp edges to catch my bladder. A very small straight blade dull cornered screwdriver. We're going to use this to tuck the edge of the fabric underneath the edge of this valve opening. I would recommend a squeeze bottle like this with talcum powder, and don't use the fake talc powder, use the real stuff. You can see it says talc usually on the bottom. Isopropyl alcohol, soap water in a spray bottle, that's for testing, permanent marker, clean towels, and a heat gun. But I would recommend a hair dryer. Heat guns get a little bit too hot. Okay, I've already done the spray bottle test with this pumped up, and it leaked right around the outside here. So my guess is that the area around here that adheres to the bladder is delaminating and leaking. So we need to get this out of here and pull it you want to pull this little lock ring off, and that's another area where your very small screwdriver comes in handy. Okay, now you slip this off and don't lose it. Okay, now that we've got our octopus air bladder hose off, you just work that in like that. And pull out as much of it as you need. Now I'm going to check around the perimeter because sometimes these will crack, and as you can see right there, you see that? That's cracked. That's the problem with these new rubbers that they use on these valves. They last about 1 to 2 years and then they start to crack, but usually well, there you go. I was just going to say they break right there. But you can see this is already breaking. Got a break right there. That was going to go. And it really sucks because when these things go, they go catastrophically usually and leave you with a long swim in. 8-meter conditions aren't that bad, but if you're out on a 4-meter, usually conditions are very big and it's no fun because you're swimming against current and wind. Okay, the first thing we have to do is get this off. And I'm going to pull enough of this out so I can work with it. Put your rounded edge toward the bladder up. And we get this as flat as possible. want to check your plastic to make sure that there's no burrs, any sharp objects, any sand, anything that might poke into the bladder. You want to make sure that's cleaned out. Okay, as you can see, we've got that pretty flat. Okay, this is where the heat gun comes in. Now I'm going to put this on the low setting and I'm going to sort of dab the heat on. I'm not going to let it sit there long. What I want this to do is just get hot about the same as it would be if you set it in the sun for like 20 minutes. Keep my hand close to make sure I'm not overheating it. Okay, that's about enough. You want to peel it from the corner. What this does is it softens up the glue and allows you to pull this whole nipple off. As you can see what I'm doing here, it's coming off nice and clean. Now, while I have this off, this is where I'm going to use my pen. Stretch this out so it's basically a nice circle. Then I'm going to mark the dead center mark of it. And you'll see why I do that soon. No, that's not dead center. Next, isopropyl alcohol and a clean towel. I'm going to wipe this off. Make sure it's super clean. All the way around the edge. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting your alcohol inside the bladder. Just go around the opening and go all the way out to the edge here, because that's about how big around this is. When you take the backing off, it's going to cover this whole area around here. Now, it's really important to clean these bladders because they've got saltwater residue on them and nothing's going to stick to that. Right now, I'm going to draw a line around the outside of this. It's double thick here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. And that should give me a bullseye if I just trace around the outer edge of that double thick liner. Let's pull this out. So as you can see, that fits right inside there. It gives me something to aim at when I can't see the middle dot. Also, it's a really good idea to take note of the direction that the nipple on your old one is pointing and mark it. Now my clips came off. That happens, no worries. You stretch your bladder tight again. All right, now Probably wondering why talcum powder and why in this little bottle, but it's a squeeze bottle. And if I hold up the inner part of the bladder here, I can squeeze some just on the inside. If I don't get my valve centered perfectly, that's going to keep the glue from sticking to the inside back of this. Now I'm going to go over this with my clean rag and alcohol again. I'll actually wipe any residue off of the talcum powder. Okay, it looks like we're ready. So just grab an edge of this and peel the backing back. I don't know, easier said than done. Now you might have to grab a little corner of this, but try to keep your fingers off of it as much as possible. Very sticky stuff. I'm going to stretch this out. And bada bing. Now I'll start from the inside, pushing it down. Work my way around a little bit more. Make sure there's no creases in your self-adhesive glue patch that's attached to the nipple. Now what I'm going to do to finish this up is I'm going to heat it up just a little bit. That's going to set the glue. Before I do that, yeah, you can see it's not sticking. Okay, now I'm going to heat up the glue, and that's going to set this permanently. Again, I'm going to get it warm like it's been sitting in the sun for an hour or 20 minutes. Just keep your hand close, keep it hot till the touch. You don't have to get this super hot. Just hot to the touch, and that's enough to set the glue. Okay. Now let that set for a minute. Carefully pull these off. All we got to do to get this to go back in is just stretch out the leading edge material. And now we're going to fish this nipple out. Just to make sure this sits right. I found the nipple's right about here, so I'm going to put some talcum powder on this bladder. I use talc heavily when I'm doing these jobs if I remove the bladder completely. It's the only way you're going to get the bladder to twist into position or spank it into position once it's got air in it and it's trying to set it. Okay, now this will also keep me from pinching the bladder material. You can see here I've got a little bit of material that wants to come up over the nipple. I don't want that. Okay, nipple's cleared. So it's going in the right direction. That'll go on like that. What we've got to do is we've got to set the nipple edge. This edge right here, and the new one we've got to set underneath this fabric edge. There's a little channel in here that this rides in. So you'll find that the hole is a tiny bit smaller than the nipple itself. So you got to get it started. And one of the reasons why I say use a screwdriver with dull edges is so you don't damage your bladder or your nipple. If the corners are a little bit smoothed out, you can just rub a piece of sandpaper over a brand new one. It'll do the trick. then you're not going to hurt the new nipple when you put it in and you set the edge. Now, I'm just going to run that around. And then I'll nicely seat that fabric edge. Without doing any damage. Okay, this part that I told you not to lose, this goes over the octopus hole first. Now, I recommend putting some talc on the edge of this to make this go on easier. Doesn't take much. And it's on. Now to get this on, you'll notice it won't just come and slide over. The way you do this is you hold your rubber here and you pull it and stretch it, and that actually makes the rubber tube thinner. No worries, because as soon as this gets wet, it loses its slip. It pulls a lot. When you let go, it has the effect of make it crawl up, caterpillar style. And while I'm here, I'm going to take the opportunity to make sure my sleeve is in place. And my bladder hasn't twisted. Put a little bit more talc in there. If it's twisted, that'll help it untwist. Okay, sleeve has to be laid out. It can't be rolled under, because this protects the bladder from the zipper. Zip it. All the way, and then flip your Velcro cover over. And the reason I say to do that while you're thinking about it is because more than once I've forgotten to do that, and I've seen friends do the same thing after a repair, and they explode their bladder when they pump up their kite because it comes out of here, forms a big bubble, and bursts. Now, if you don't get this all the way up to the edge of the nipple, if you only get the ring like this far up, you got 2 barbs over. Believe it or not, that's enough to hold it. But I usually leave mine just about this far from the edge, the ring. That tells me that this has been replaced before. And I can kind of gauge if it goes out, if it was a bad replacement valve or if it was the original valve. Okay, as you can see, I'm a little bit away from the edge, about the width of my screwdriver blade, and that's where I'm going to keep it. And that will let me know that that one's been replaced. This one is right up against the edge. That one hasn't been replaced, and it probably will need to be soon, is my guess, because these tend to go out around the same time. But I've got this little clip to lock the air in, so if I lose the air in the single strut, I can still fly the kite. Okay, from here, we test it. We're going to check it for leaks. Okay, nothing. No leaks. All right, leave it there for half hour, 45 minutes, and just see if it stays pumped up. All right, it's been about 45 minutes and it's solid. It's holding air.